Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Homeland Security Today book talk. I am Christina Tanaschuk, the executive editor of HS Today, and we are very, very fortunate to welcome to Book Talk Jeremey Baker. And most of you probably already know who he is because he's a national security veteran and most recently was the counterterrorism director at the Department of Homeland Security. So we're really excited to be sitting down with you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, and we get to talk to you about something a little bit different, and that is that you spent your free time, which I can't imagine you had much of it, but you spent your free time writing The Guilty Sleep. So tell us a little bit about your debut novel, because this is very exciting.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, much of the writing of this book takes place or took place in that 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. hour on weekdays, and that, sort of 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. time frame on the weekends while everyone's still asleep at the house and when I'm not working. Um, I wanted to write a story that was reflective in some ways of my own experience. So I'm a former counterintelligence agent and Afghanistan combat vet. So is the protagonist of The Guilty Sleep. He's uh, a CIA agent, veteran of Afghanistan who struggles with PTSD, as I did after I returned from deployment in 2002. And in The Guilty Sleep, our protagonist, whose name is Dexter, is approached by his former teammates to help them basically execute a kind of bank heist to try to save the life of their former interpreter, who's still in Afghanistan, a guy who saved their lives when something sort of really bad happened over there. So I was looking to do a few things with this book. I was looking to tell the story of Afghanistan combat veterans through the eyes of those who served there. I was looking to kind of explore a lot of the things I and other veterans were thinking and feeling about the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in August 2021. I started writing this in October of that year. And I was looking to tell a really sort of entertaining crime thriller heist novel set in my home state of Maryland.
Well, that's awesome. So, and you obviously accomplished that, and it is based on your career in part, correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of the things that our protagonist experiences in terms of his training and in terms of what happens to him in Afghanistan are directly pulled from some of my own life experiences. And there's kind of a central event that happens to him and his team when he's in Afghanistan. I won't talk about too much because of spoilers, but that sort of event um, if is something that happened to me. If you take what happened to me and then extrapolate it to its worst possible conclusion of terrible things happening, is something that happens to some of our characters in this book.
And you tackle something I think that's very important for the readers, and that is PTSD. So can you speak a little bit about how you kind of handled that and then kind of why you included it?
Sure. It's really kind of an interesting topic to me because I'm someone who suffered from PTSD when I came back from Afghanistan. And when I deployed, it was in early 2002, and I spent the better part of the year in Afghanistan, specifically the southeast of the country, with the 19th Special Forces Group. I was part of a small counterintelligence team that was assigned to support 19th Special Forces, and it was a very busy time operationally. And I came back and was experiencing what I later learned was PTSD, and I just didn't have a great awareness of what that was, and I was a little bit lost. And the thing that I found that helped me the most in those months and years after I got back was writing. I'd always loved telling stories, but I'd never tried writing before. So what I was doing was I was writing stories that let me take the things that I was feeling, my thoughts and emotions, and kind of maybe give them to someone else so I could step back and look from a distance and explore those thoughts and feelings. And what I found was over time that really helped me kind of deal with my PTSD. And so it felt very natural almost. If I was telling a story about Afghanistan veterans, PTSD is an inextricable part of the US war in Afghanistan. Not every veteran suffers from it, but many do. And for veterans, no person's journey is exactly the same. No person's PTSD is exactly the same. So what I wanted to do was, in part, tell this story about Afghanistan veterans and have it be reflective of their real experience. And so our protagonist's PTSD is reflective of my PTSD experience. And it just felt like a natural thing to do as I was telling this story, and have it be an integral part of sort of what this character thinks about and what his motivations are, and why he ultimately decides to help his friends carry out this sort of bank heist to help their interpreter.
That's so fascinating. Um, so you really kind of turned journaling, which is something that people say to do, into a book and made it kind of a story. And it's great to share that experience, even though it's a fiction book, but it's great to share that experience with others, and kind of be a teaching tool as well as a really interesting read.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'll say is, for folks who are reading the book, um, the way that our protagonist experiences PTSD is very much the way that I experience PTSD. So it really is sort of a picture of me and my life at that time, and some of the things I was going through. Now, in our book, the protagonist is married and has a young child. In 2002, I was not yet married and I did not have any kids. But in terms of how he feels, and the way that PTSD actually manifests in him as a character, is right out of my own experience.
Well, that's terrific. Well, thank you for sharing that with the readers, and certainly with others, because it's a huge challenge, and I know the nation wants to support all of our soldiers coming back, and make sure that we care for them both physically and mentally. So it's great that you included that. So as we kind of wind this up, is there anything that you want readers to take away from The Guilty Sleep besides thinking what a great read they just had?
Yeah, thanks. So, yeah, absolutely. I think, first and foremost, I wanted to tell an entertaining story. And I hope that people do enjoy it as that. But I also, um, in addition to sort of an exploration of PTSD, it also, the novel, I tried to explore some of the different thoughts and perspectives around the war in Afghanistan. And, we have an all volunteer military, and we ask a lot of the people who fight our wars. And we've been in Afghanistan. We had been in Afghanistan for almost 20 years when we withdrew. And I found myself, and a lot of veterans I spoke with found ourselves asking, what was all of that for? Um, what did we learn as a country? What did we accomplish as a country? And so there's some of that goes into this novel as well. There's different thoughts and perspectives and viewpoints from a lot of the characters in the story who are veterans, that I tried to bring forward and make a sort of real experience. And I've heard from a lot of those folks, those veterans that I know who've read the book and said, "Wow, this was, you know, in many ways, this was a hard book to read as a veteran because it talks about a lot of those things, but ultimately, all of the feedback I've gotten from folks in the veteran community has been positive. They felt like someone in that book felt the way they felt about it, regardless of how they felt. So that was important to do. Um, but I will say, you don't have to be an Afghanistan veteran to enjoy this story. If you like a good crime thriller, I think you'll like this. I think you'll like this book.
That's awesome. And the name? Where did the name come from?
The name, "The Guilty Sleep," comes from this concept in interrogation, or interviewing, a suspected criminal, and that is, if you have a guy that you think has committed a crime, and you can hold them overnight, you keep them overnight and you watch them. And generally speaking, this isn't universal, but a lot of the times it's true. If someone has actually committed the crime they're suspected of, and you keep them overnight, they will actually find a way to fall asleep. And that's because subconsciously they really know that they did it. And they're in for questioning, or maybe they've been caught, and either they'll get away with it or they won't, but they know that they did it. And they're somehow able just to kind of fall asleep. Someone who's innocent, and has been arrested for a crime is going to they're going to toss and turn, and they're going to pace, and they're not going to be able to sleep. They're going to be restless because they know I have not committed this crime, and these people have wrongfully imprisoned me, and their adrenaline just won't let them sleep. So it can be a really good indicator if you have a bad guy in custody who committed the crime you think they did, if they're able to fall asleep. And that's actually kind of a central, there's a central through line in this story about being able to sleep and whether you're guilty or not. So it kind of ties it together.
That's so interesting because this weekend I was literally watching, another serial killer show, which is kind of what I watch, from England. And they had a suspect in the room and he went on the floor and went to sleep. And the cop literally said, "Oh, he's guilty." And the other one said, "Well, why do you know that?" He's like, "Because he went to sleep." So that's so interesting. The next thing you know, we're talking about the title of your book, The Guilty Sleep. And thank you so much. We've been talking with Jeremey Baker. He is now outside of the department, but he was the Acting Counterterrorism Coordinator, and now is a famous author with his debut novel. We encourage you to pick it up on Amazon or wherever else good books are sold. And we are also very excited to announce that Mr. Baker will be joining the editorial board of Homeland Security today. So you heard it here first, and we'll be making that announcement in the next couple of weeks formally. But Jeremey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful to be on.
Thank you.